Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm Daniel McCardle-Jaimez. I will be the moderator for the press conference this morning. I believe you all should have recording access. We have Arania Brown who's helping us with that. We have Perla Sitkov who's helping with other logistical things. Dashita Dawson is on our call too, and she will be the presenter, and we will start momentarily. I'm expecting a few more to trickle in. But let us know if you have any questions in the chat, please. In parallel, while we are waiting, would you mind including the press bit.ly link in the chat as well, so that everyone has it at their fingertips?
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Perla. And I know that some of you are new to our press conference. Some of you may be new to cannabis. If there are questions, feel free to already insert those into the chat. And at the tail end of our conference, you'll be top of the queue. So that is the strategy there. Feel free to go ahead and start entering your questions. I have a feeling that we will cover them, but in the event that we don't, I want to be sure that we do have a response for you. Good morning and welcome to those who just joined. I'm Daniel McCardle-Jaimez. I work in the Office of Community and Civic Life. I will be moderating the call today.
Good morning. This is Ifan Yubel from Open Signal.
Good morning, Fani. Good. And we also have our seed grant recipients on the call. I'm expecting, I think, 8. We also have a number of TV news stations as well as print media that are on the call. And so welcome to everybody. Good morning. Happy Friday. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good
Hello.
morning. Can I record this on my end?
Absolutely.
How do I do that?
You can use, there's a tool on the Zoom function. Arania should have allowed access to that. At the end of this press conference, we're also recording it on our end. We're going to be dropping it into the bit.ly link that's in the chat. I'm not sure if you can do it, but immediately after our press conference today, a higher resolution recording will be shared in that bit.ly link in the chat.
Okay, I'll just wait for that then. That'll be great. Thank you.
Great. We're full service here.
Hey, Daniel, Mark here with REAP. I'm just curious, will there be any type of queued questions for us, or we're just kind of listening in, just showing face?
You're listening, showing face. We're going to do some introductions, so be sure to wave when we call upon you. We have some members of the media here as well. This will be a recorded press conference.
I'm going open my window.
Good morning for those that just joined.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm about to start my press conference, just FYI.
I'm going to give us a couple more minutes. I'm expecting a couple more. Just looking through the people that are here. And for those of you who are just joining, good morning. I'm Daniel McCardle-Jaimez with the Office of Community and Civic Life. Thank you so much for being here. We will be getting started in a little bit. I will advance my screen so that we can sort of see the conference agenda for this morning. You'll see that we'll be doing welcomes. I'll go over some logistics. I'll do a civic life overview. We'll get over to Deshita and talk about the SEED grant program, talk about those SEED initiatives. For those that are grant recipients, you'll see that we're also going to be introducing you. So we ask that you wave hi and be on camera if possible. We also will be doing some share outs from some of the recipients, and then we'll do a facilitated Q&A at 10:20. So when we do the facilitated questions, they will be through the chat. And so I've already asked that those that are reporters feel free to get ahead of the queue and begin inserting your questions into the chat. I think we'll be able to answer them in advance because we do have a pretty lengthy, robust presentation ahead of us. And as it relates to SEED grant recipients and your share outs, there are so many of you and we have just a small amount of time. So if we could keep it down to 30 seconds or less, that would be greatly appreciated. All right. I can see your next. Oh, interesting. Deshita, I'm not sure. Let's see, let me try that again. I'm gonna stop share and then I'm gonna. Hopefully that looks better on your end, Deshita. I'm not sure. It's showing full screen on my end and hopefully it's showing full screen on everybody else's.
We definitely can see the slide, but this is usually the back end control, but there's no real reason that we can't continue this way. So I'm okay.
Okay, all right, great. Well, I'm showing 10:03, so I think we're going to get started if that works for everybody. So good morning. I'm Daniel McCardle-Jaimez with the Office of Community and Civic Life. Thank you so much for being here. We are so thrilled and excited to have a press conference to celebrate the SEED grant recipients and the great work that we all share and will be doing as relates to advancing cannabis equity here in the city of Portland. And I wanted to quickly just run through the agenda for our conference today. I just did the welcome. I will be talking about some meeting logistics. We will be doing a full introduction of our Civic Life staff as well as SEED grant recipients. And then I'll talk about Civic Life's work, and then we'll talk about the cannabis program itself and the SEED initiatives. You'll see that we have Q&A at the end of the press conference. As it relates to Zoom logistics, if you're a member of the media, please identify yourself in the Zoom profile. That would be greatly appreciated for the Q&A session. Please put all your questions into the chat. This is a community shared press conference and it is a recorded conference. We will be sharing the recording in the bit.ly link down here below at the tail end of this conference. And so even SEED grant recipients, you also have access to that folder and that recording, and that will be shared with you as well. So write down that link, and I will have that at the tail end when we do Q&A. So this isn't the last time you'll see that link. And if we didn't get to your question, you may contact us after. Again, I'm Daniel, Office of Community and Civic Life, and I am so thrilled that we get to listen to Dashita Dawson. And so Dashita, would you mind introducing yourself and then also the seed grant recipients, please?
Sure. Well, one, I'm still kind of challenged today. I apologize with some of my internet. So if I have to go off camera, I apologize. But yes, I'm Dashita Dawson. I am the Cannabis Program Supervisor for the City of Portland. And I am, of course, really excited to be sharing what is our largest cohort yet, 17 grant recipients for the Social Equity and Educational Development, or SEED Grant Fund, which is a fund as part of the SEED initiatives. I'll definitely share more in slides to come. If you advance the slide, I can definitely talk to just a few of our representatives, and I think we even have more. I apologize because we're in the middle of also ushering these same recipients through a pretty busy grant agreement and processing period, but we have representatives from across our 17 recipients, including the Jim Pepper Native Arts Council, and that's the Executive Director, Sean Aaron Cruz, Rob Cato with Zenger Farms, the Co-Executive Director. And I apologize in advance, and definitely I can't wait to learn further about how I pronounce everyone's name. I've been working on it slowly but surely. But Infanyi Bell from Open Signal Labs is the executive producer. Sale, and I've been working with her specifically from Historic Park Rose is Executive Director. Joe McFerrin from POIC is President and CEO. Antonio Jackson with Building Blocks to Success, co-founder and Executive Director. Meryl Montgomery Barbary is CEO and co-founder. And then we have Pat Daniels as well, representing Constructing Hope as the Executive Director. I actually feel bad because, again, we have so many more, and I can see Mark Jackson from REAP. I can see Raina from the Oregon Handlers Fund. So I do represent that we have way more than we anticipated as we started to roll this out. And I always appreciate the recipients, now recipients, no longer proposed recipients, for just continuing to work with our office as we usher you through this process. I will pass the mic back to Daniel, and I'm looking forward to sharing more about our SEED initiatives.
Oh, Daniel, you're on mute.
Thank you so much. Story of my life. Before we jump into cannabis, I think it's really important to set the stage for those on the call who are unfamiliar with how and why this program is nestled within a bureau here at the City of Portland. And so it is no mistake that the cannabis program is part of our bureau, and similarly next to a number of other unique programs such as noise, graffiti, community safety, and neighborhoods. Because the common thread for all of our work is to build more inclusive and equitable spaces for all Portlanders. And we do that by transforming the way city government works to evolve and meet today's and tomorrow's community needs. And so you'll see that much of the work includes community-led and community-shared programs, and we're so thankful and grateful to have our partners here on the call today. And so some of the ways that we do that here at Civic Life is, of course, by creating safe, fun, and inclusive neighborhoods. We provide resources for immigrant and refugee communities. We invest in community power by reinvesting cannabis tax funds into communities targeted and harmed by past cannabis prohibition. We provide free trainings and resources around conflict resolution and share holistic community safety philosophies and learnings. We also support leadership development for BIPOC, immigrant, and refugee communities. In addition to that, we help businesses grow while protecting patrons and communities by leading safe, sensible, equitable, and environmentally friendly regulation. We encourage building stronger communities by connecting neighborhood groups to resources and funding. We invite Portlanders to join advisory committees in order to impact city policies and influence city budget decisions. We provide resources for Portland youth to engage in and lead civic engagement within their community. And we support disability justice. And we are in the midst of this first disability engagement study. And so some of the recent outcomes for civic life is our recent investment in a statewide census, into the statewide census equity fund, where that money was allocated to reach the hard to count communities as a part of the 2020 census. We also had led the city in allocating $1.75 million towards the Oregon Worker Relief Fund to support Oregonians who are not eligible for federal relief during the COVID crisis. In addition, since 1996, we just celebrated the 25-year anniversary of the Multnomah Youth Commission, and we counted 479 youth have grew their leadership skills and are current civic engagers and or leaders or conveners in Portland neighborhoods today. And so we're really proud of that investment in youth. As it relates to upcoming outcomes and opportunities, we are currently in the midst of leading the city's first ever disability engagement study to advance disability justice here in Portland. We will be participating in our very first welcoming week for immigrants and refugees in September. Recently, we announced $250,000 worth in community-led trainings around anti-racism, disability justice, transformative justice, and that will be available to thousands of Portlanders this fiscal year. We will have an announcement about the Oregon Equity Investment Act in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned around that. And then today's conference is all about these seed initiatives, and we'll allow Dashita now to take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate, again, sharing a little bit more about civic life, because oftentimes I get asked, particularly around the cannabis program being in civic life. And as you can see, as we are an equity-centered regulatory management framework that's been operationally designed to deliver on the reparative and restorative potential of cannabis legalization, it makes sense when we look at the overall goals of civic life and the objectives of our Bureau. It's been really exciting to take what has already been a very sensible program that I've been testifying about across the country since 2018, and really expand on what this vision looks like for what equity-centered regulatory management in cannabis can look like. So as a result, we've become an aspirational benchmark locally at the state level and in federal jurisdictions. And our goal ultimately has been narrowed into these three objectives that I think we're delivering on. Today, actually, it marks the anniversary of my 1 year with the city, and so I'm really excited to be honing in on the program's objectives. First, to strengthen program operations and foundational framework, prioritizing equity, education, and access in all areas of operations. Educate and empower the Portland community to support the industry via our social equity and educational development or SEED initiatives, and then to lead local, state, and national cannabis regulatory equity and sustainability conversations that will positively impact the global cannabis economy. And so we've been tackling that and very excited because, you know, the SEED initiatives absolutely helps us deliver on some of these objectives. But let's talk a little bit more about why this is really important. I think not just within cannabis, but cannabis particularly because of what we know the history of the racially biased enforcement of cannabis prohibition has been. The ACLU report that was released last year, A Tale of Two Cities, clearly shows not just in Oregon, but throughout the country, racial disparities that exist despite all people using marijuana at similar rates. What we've outlined here are our main Oregon counties where we've seen essentially up to 3.5 times more likelihood that a Black person would be arrested for a marijuana-related offense as compared to white counterparts. And as a result, the city has now decided, and really the city's people voted in 2016 that the cannabis tax revenue should absolutely be, used as a way to repair and restore those communities. So as I talk a little bit about SEED, just know that it was born again in 2016 after a ballot initiative vote where the people decided that this was one of 3 important areas that we wanted to use cannabis tax revenue. And so looking at the historical overview of the grant fund, thank you so much, Daniel. What you'll see is that we've done pretty good out of 3 years. I mean, again, Portland is the first program in the country to have a community reinvestment grant tied to cannabis tax revenue and to be actually very intentional around delivering equity in this way. We've, prior to this cycle, given 1.6 roughly million in allocation from our cannabis tax revenue out in 15 grants. We've received 72 applications. And most of our real insights from that were that we were getting relatively limited applications because it was a new program. It was a pilot. We were also one-time allocated and not ongoing, so not as much planning. And I think we were very limited in the way we thought about equity. We were focused on expungement, workforce development, and reentry services, which are very important. They are the nucleus of what we think of in restitution and restoration. But we also have to think about that person's family, the community in which they resided, the communities that were disinvested. And that is where we started to look at seed initiatives in a much more global way. And so moving into 2020, we launched seed initiatives really as a direct result of being approved for an ongoing allocation of 1 million that allowed us to really dig our heels in and plan. We also look back at the 3 years of insights that we received from community engagement, selection committees, previous applications, and comments from city council and feedback. And what we found is that we really needed to expand and think about this in a broad way. So seed initiatives is a single source monitoring, measuring, and reporting vehicle for our cannabis program as we look at the city's cannabis tax revenues return on equity investment. How are we investing this money and are we getting a return? And are we reporting and are we optimizing after that? It includes 3 really important parts: the grant fund, as well as the technical assistance program. And then the partnerships are really important because it gives us the opportunity to grow the funds. I come from the private sector, and so I really want to stress that private companies are looking to support here. And so public-private partnerships are important if we want to continue to build the amount of reinvestment that we can provide to our communities. Right now, the cannabis tax revenue is the sole funding source for seed initiatives and the grant fund that we'll talk about today. But we will have an annual report that will certainly, again, allow us to analyze our return on equity investment and also drive strategy for the future partnerships and future increases in the cannabis tax revenue. As a result of our efforts, and honestly, the efforts before my time, this program is a national benchmark. There are many states, including my home state, that have adopted elements of the program. New York passed with a legalization bill that gives 40% of the total state's cannabis tax revenue back to communities that have been most harmed by cannabis prohibition. So with that said, our seed grant fund aims to strengthen and serve restorative justice, community reinvestment, and wealth creation in Black, Indigenous, and Latinx communities, which have been disproportionately impacted by over 80 years of cannabis prohibition laws. We expanded our priorities to education, economic development, and criminal justice. And we have 2 main objectives, which really are supporting and serving BIPOC communities in these 3 priority areas, as well as increasing the number of BIPOC-led and women-led small businesses and projects that get funded by SEED. I would say as we move into our application pool in the next few slides, what you'll see is a tremendous growth over the previous year. This year, we tripled the amount of applications that we received, over 120 applications. And we were able to see a diversity across all of the categories: education, economic, criminal justice, as well as a lot of applicants doing all of these things in a very for us, by us model. We significantly increased the number of BIPOC applicants with Black led and owned applications coming from over 40% of our application pool and over 50% from individuals who identify as she or her. With that being said, I'm really excited to share that 2021, we are really just, we're doing the most, I have to say, with our 1.8 million in funding and the 17 proposed recipients that are 89% led or owned by Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and 29% led or owned by women. And this is the breakdown. And again, just a small sampling of the group, but I'm extremely proud. And because I had to introduce before, I just wanted to take a second to mention all of the organization names: Constructing Hope, the Ethiopian and Eritrean Cultural Resource Center, Friends of Zanga Farms, Building Blocks to Success, Elevate Oregon, REAP, Open Signal, POIC, RH High School, Prolific Integrations, Oregon Expungement Relief Project, our Jim Pepper Native Arts Council, Historic Park Rose, Street Roots, Brown Hope, Oregon Handlers Fund, Barbary LLC, and PG Partners. And I want to say welcome to the 2021 Seed Grant cohort. I look forward to working with all of you over the next year and some of you over the next 2 years. Thank you.
Excellent, thanks, Tashida. So we've reached the time where we're going to do some quick introductions from those seed grant recipients. So if you could, maybe we'll start with Pat. I'm just gonna look at who I can see, and then I'll call to the next person. So Pat, please introduce yourself and who you represent.
I'm Pat Daniels. I'm the Executive Director of Constructing Hope. We're a pre-apprenticeship training program. We target formerly incarcerated, but our program is 100% low income. And we currently have about 80% people of color.
Thank you. Ifani?
Good morning, Ifani Bell. I'm the executive producer of Open Signal Labs. We work on an annual basis with filmmakers of color, Black filmmakers in particular, helping to support job training, technical training, and creative support among Black creatives in an environment that's safe, comfortable, and supportive. We've been operating since our pilot year. About 2 years ago, our COVID year was interrupted with this year's cohort, but we're continuing on and plan to continue growing our resources for Black filmmakers here in the city of Portland.
Thank you. Joe?
Joe McFerrin, President and CEO, Portland OIC and the Rosemary Anderson High School. We provide education, workforce, family wraparound, and community safety services. And I'm grateful to be here with all of you today.
Thanks, Joe. Adrina, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adrina Walker. I am the Chief of Staff of PG Partners. In PG Partners, we are an education, access, and advocacy company for cannabis. And we specialize in our Now You Know workshop, which focuses on youth and at-risk youth and young adults. And that workshop focuses on business aspects, education, what you should do to come into the business, healthcare, and legal ramifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, please.
Yes, Mark Jackson, the co-founder, executive director of the REAP organization, which is a multicultural youth leadership program based in Portland, Oregon, servicing students grades 3 through 12, focused on student leadership, entrepreneurship, and also conflict resolution. These funds will help us support our young entrepreneurs program for our middle and high school age students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Antonio, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Antonio Jackson. I'm the co-founder and executive director for Building Blocks to Success. We are a STEM-focused organization for youth, science, technology, engineering, and math, focusing on early education, youth from 4 to 16 years old. And we're excited to be a part of this group.
Thank you. Rob, please.
Good morning, Rob Cato. I'm co-executive director of Zinger Farm. We are an urban farm and education center out on 117th and Foster. These funds are going to help us build our small business micro enterprise program for our community chefs, which are women of color, food leaders in our communities.
Thank you. Raven, please.
Hello, I'm Raven Drake. You see her pronouns. I'm the ambassador program manager at Street Roots. And through our ambassador program in the civic engagement and this grant from Civic Life, we'll focus directly on employing 3 individuals who have been impacted by in employment areas by prohibition to cannabis, work directly with 7 ambassadors to do outreach and survey work in those communities most affected, and work with 3 individuals in our mobile journalism program and support 12 or more vendors and our sales coaching to help expand their horizons. And we thank you for having us as part of this.
Thank you. Rena, please.
Good morning, my name is Is that better? Good morning, my name is Raina Casey. I'm the founder of the Organ Handlers Fund, and the Organ Handlers Fund seeks to remove the barrier of the marijuana licensing permit fee of $100 for people of color looking to work and enter the cannabis industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonas?
Hi, good morning. My name is Jonas. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Deshad, and thank you, Civic Life, for such big opportunity. This is huge to me and to my organization. So I'm the founder and director of ECRC. I just want to share one story. English is my second language. I might be a little bit slow, but let me quickly share. So when I moved 5 years ago, I became healthcare interpreter. Then I saw also interpreting in the school. I saw kids struggling, and I just took the initiative and tutored them voluntarily. So when I first checked, they were below expectation. Then later they passed the expectation. So that kind of inspired me to start youth tutoring for refugee kids. So the picture, these are the kids, they inspire me most. So thank you for this opportunity. We're gonna use it for health education and youth tutoring and mentoring. Thank you again.
Thank you. Meryl, please.
Hi, I'm Meryl Montgomery, CEO of Barbari. We are a national cannabis brand based here in Portland, Oregon, which provides low dose cannabis solutions through our THC, CBD, and botanical line. It's our greater purpose to serve as a flywheel of diversity, equity, and creativity within the cannabis space. These funds will help support our incubation program for a local Black and queer-owned hemp brand that we know will be a wonderful and huge success and impactful and important in our community, as well as expanding our company's community engagement and outreach programs over the next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lloyd, please.
Hey, good morning. I'm calling from Denver. Very interested in advancing what you started out here in Denver. You know, everybody says, hey, you were the first ones. But really, you know, we do so many things half-assed because we get in our own way. For instance, our state government passed a $4 million fund. It's effective this summer, and it's supposed to go to people of color, people in targeted areas, as well as getting to smaller beginning state cannabis companies, but it's very generic. And the city of Denver, likewise, has just issued a social equity lineup to open up a set of new licenses across the board to begin next month. But again, this is very ironic because all of the restrictions that have been done are not going to help impacted communities and are not going to help move funding into the programs. And I'm very much oriented to taking your success and hoping to grow it here, also to work with our friends in New Mexico who want a decent and growing support system from the cannabis space. And as Deshida, I'm a New Yorker, so we're rooting very hard for that state to pull off its multi-million-dollar commitment to this area in social justice. So I'm very happy to be here. I applaud all that you've done so far and hope I can be a resource from out here in any way. Thanks.
Thank you, Lloyd. And Sean, Aaron, I see that you're on the call but not on camera. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm actually on my cell phone in a car traveling in southern Nevada. But first thing, I wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation for the photograph you chose for us, for the Kona Foster Kalama of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, who was a co-founder of our organization starting in 2010 and who passed away 2 years ago. So it's very inspiring to see his image today. And our mission is to improve access to culturally relevant music education for Native American students who have the highest dropout and highest suicide rates in the state of Oregon and have had that status for decades. And the indigenous community is only 0.6% of the population now, and that's a percentage that continues to shrink compared to other groups. And there's an absence of culturally relevant music education in the entire K-12 system statewide. And we're working to make a difference there. And it was the title of this grant that actually drew our attention to it, social equity and educational development. And part of our work and raising awareness is to point out that 100% of the cannabis grown in the state of Oregon is not grown on Indian land, is grown on land that was taken on pain of death from the indigenous community. And by the time the state was founded, 95% of them had been killed. And but we are very grateful to be part of this cohort and to have the opportunity to work with the community of civic life. And thank you so very much for including us.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sean, Aaron, and drive safely.
I'm not the driver.
Okay, excellent. I believe that we have all of our grantees that have introduced themselves. I know that we have a couple of couple of people that are sort of two people from the same organization, but was there an organization that we missed? Okay, hearing no one else. It looks like we have some reporters. One of them might be on mute. Rebecca, maybe you have a question for the panel.
I am actually a staff member at Open Signal. I am not here to.
Okay, no
here
problem.
To support and learn.
Okay, no problem. Anyone from Coin or K2, I know that they had indicated that they were going to record this. They weren't sure if they're going to have someone actually supervise and manage the Zoom call, but this is the time to ask questions if you have any. Not a problem. I understand that they were just going to hit record and that was going to be their role this morning. Okay, well, do we have any other reporters? June Reyes or Jardima, you might be from other organizations here, but you may be a reporter as well. So if there are any reporters, this is your time to ask questions. Okay, all right, well, we're gonna finish on time, I guess. Deshita, easy press conference, huh?
Can I just make a quick statement, real quick? Is that okay, Daniel?
Yes.
Yes, Joe McFerrin with Portland OIC. I just wanted to express our deep appreciation, Daniel and Deshita, for your work here. This work that all of us will be doing in support of our community is so critical right now, given the health issues and challenges that we're facing, but equally as important, the violence that we're facing in our community. And the SEED initiative and all of this work and all of the work that we'll all be doing, I believe, it's my point of view, is the solution to this community violence. I'm so excited to see all the organizations that are going to be doing this work. And I just wanted to express it. I mean, it's so critical. And I also want to thank you for highlighting Brandon, a participant, because Brandon's got a new leash on life. And he's a true example of what we can do together and collectively when we have shared values and outcomes, and we commit to those who are less fortunate, particularly African Americans. And I'm feeling really good about this work. What a great way to start off a weekend, holiday weekend. And again, I look forward to connecting with the partners here on this call to share our best practices. So thank you.
Thanks, Joe. And Rena, I see you have your hand up. Would you like to say something?
Yes, the lady that is working with the youth in the cannabis to get them into the industry, could you please connect with me, because I would like to get their permits paid for when they're of age, should they decide to pursue a career after their training with you is concluded and complete.
Thanks, Rena. And thanks, Joe, for also expressing your appreciation. You know, that's kind of what Perla and I will be doing, is we want to uplift the stories of your organizations and the communities that you serve and the people that you will be serving. And so that is our job, is to elevate those stories and to continue to amplify the need for this work. And the reason, I think Raven was saying that there's 3 individuals that they'll be working with at Street Roots. And so those are the kinds of stories that we want to know about. So Perla is on the call, if she could sort of wave. She and I work together on those news releases, on those stories. And so we look forward to working with you over the next 2 years and more, because this is an ongoing program.
Yes, I was going to say that. And similarly, this in some ways marks our inaugural cohort meeting, because we will be working together. And I'm appreciative already of Joe and Rena for identifying already strategic partners that can help amplify what you're already doing. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and thank you all for being here. I know this is the Friday before a 3-day weekend. We did get a number of media interest. Everyone said, Daniel, we're short-staffed. And I said, listen, I understand. I'm looking forward to the weekend too. But so they're looking forward to this recording. So I just want to say that there's been a lot of interest. It's just, I guess people don't have questions because we wrote such great materials.
Daniel, Mark Jackson here, had my hand raised before we conclude the call. I want to echo Joe's comments and just a comment to the media. I hope you highlight that you heard Dashida share. This is going to be a national model. This is the first of its kind in the country. And with all of the attention that was zoomed in on Portland 2020, here is a great story to kind of expand and amplify across the country that we're doing great work on the ground level here in the city of Portland. So thank you so very much for leadership, Dashida.
And last point, I do want to commend you on the diversity of the group. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody. Some of us have already worked together, but I'm looking forward to working with the other organizations that are here. I think we all have a lot to share. So I can't wait to meet everybody. So I hope our next meeting will be in person.
Okay. Oh, is that a percent or is that a handout?
That's peace. I'm out.
Okay, excellent. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Daniel and Perla and Aranya. Thank you, team.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.